I got my Goku shirt on. That's how you know that we're talking more about Dragon Ball today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sunday. I told you it wouldn't be long before we would be back. It's because the first season of Dragon Ball Super is 18 episodes, but the second I shouldn't call them seasons. I should call them arcs or sagas. The second arc is only 9 episodes. So today is our Dragon Ball Super Saga 2 review. Let's just call it that. I would name these, but if I name them, it could spoil it just a little bit. So if anyone's like passing by, I don't want to spoil, any Dragon Ball stuff for them. That being said, now that you're here at the video, we are going to totally spoil it. So now's your time to get on out of here. Did you leave? Okay. For everyone else, we are going to be talking about Dragon Ball Super episodes, I think 19 through 27. So it's a very small window.
Yeah.
9 episodes in this saga. Although I got to tell you, I like that because, again, similar to what they did the first time, this is a movie.
Yeah.
This is the Resurrection F movie, which then came to the TV series. And it came in half as many episodes, which is good.
It was wrapped up in a nice, neat little package.
It did not feel like there was any filler.
Yes.
Which was nice, actually. It was really nice. That was one of my complaints from the first saga, was there was quite a few moments where, Goku and Beerus are just like, "Brr," and then nothing happens.
There was a little bit of that. Like half an episode could have gotten cut out.
Yeah, a little bit, but also I think that to an extent, intrinsically, that is part of Dragon Ball.
Yeah. So
there's going to be some of it that's unavoidable, but for the most part, really pared down. Mm-hmm. And one of my big complaints, if you watch the Saga 1 review, if you haven't, you should watch that first, because then it'll kind of give you an idea of how we're heading into Saga 2. One of my complaints was that what on earth are they going to do with all these characters? Because we're to the point in the show where, the only characters that can do anything are Goku and Vegeta. Mm-hmm. And you've got this huge cast of, 15 other fighters, people that fight that can no longer be useful in fights.
Yeah. And
I was so pleased that the way that they handled it is Goku and Vegeta aren't around and all the other characters have to do it themselves. I really loved that. Finding out that Frieza was coming back, I think was a fun throwback, because when I think back to Dragon Ball Z, I think the strongest arc is the Namek arc.
Yeah.
Everything that revolved around the characters got to go to planet Namek and they have to find the Dragon Balls, and Frieza's there and learning about how ruthless he was and killing all of Goku's friends, and then Goku learning to become Super Saiyan, all of that. I think that is the strongest part of Dragon Ball Z by a long shot. Mm-hmm. And in respect to that, it makes Frieza probably one of the most memorable Dragon Ball villains.
Yeah.
So bringing him back made a lot of sense. I have to say, I do miss I think the voice actor died, but I do miss the raspy voice. But I think that person may have passed away, in which case, obviously, they're not going to be able to, get more lines. But I got used to the new Frieza voice. Mm-hmm. It still has the same
gravelly.
Yeah, there's still a similar cadence to it, mm-hmm. but it's not exactly what I remember from childhood. But that's fine. But yeah, the fact that Frieza shows back up, and then we get to see all of not all, but a majority
of the Z Fighters
get back together was really cool. I love that. It was worth it to me when I realized that Master Roshi was going to be fighting. I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
How awesome is it to see this character that really didn't do any fighting in Z, I think? The only thing that Master Roshi ever does is just ogle women, and that's it. So to be reminded of how influential his role in the original Dragon Ball was as a fighter was nice. Mm-hmm. Even if short-lived. It was just cool to be like, man, he pumped himself up and used one Kamehameha, and that, I was like, this is good. This is really good. Chaozu didn't show up, but Chaozu is which really puts into perspective how useless Chaozu is, which is sad. Majin Buu didn't show up, but I also didn't think that he would, because I didn't think they wanted him fighting Frieza.
Yeah.
And Yamcha, where's Yamcha? Where's Yamcha? Did he die
I have no idea.
on the boat? I'm not sure what his excuse. I know like he's not a super powerful fighter, so maybe they just didn't want to make him look bad again. But like, I think he's only had one line in Super. I think when they were flying to Bulma's yacht, he was like, "Hey, you guys going to the party?" And like, that's it. I don't know if he said anything else in the series, but it's just so funny because in the intro and outro, all the characters are there, and I'm like, okay, they don't talk, but they're in the intro and outro. Anyway, I was actually kind of half hoping that Goku and Vegeta just wouldn't be involved at all, but of course, they were. So after, the main guys can't handle it, Goku and Vegeta end up showing up. Mm-hmm. I was really surprised by there being another power level already.
Yeah.
Like so I'm thinking about it in perspective of like the films. Like they released Battle of the Gods, and then it was like, I don't know, a year or two later that this other film came out. So in the respect of that, I'm sure that it felt cool.
Well, they also kind of explain it, and I don't know if it's just an English translation thing, as the blue hair is them doing it on their own, but pink was through the ceremony.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why, but they could have just gone with pink again.
And
saved blue.
I think the thing is that, like, if you're watching the films when they were coming out in theaters, Battle of the Gods, first time Dragon Ball's been on the big screen, or just in any media, not any, because there's video games, but like, first time there's like a big new thing. So they come out with Super Saiyan God, and it's like, oh, that's really cool. A year or two, I don't know what the timeline was between the movies passes, but some amount of time passes, so I get that it'd be cool to be like, oh my god, now there's a new power level. But when you're watching the television series, it feels instant.
Yeah.
It's like, they just did the thing. Why is there another thing? So that is one way in which doing it this way, where you have films and then you turn them into the show, is a little odd. But anyway, now the hair is blue. The show does suffer from, I don't know what to call it, power creep, where like, because everyone is like super, super strong now, there's no real way to show that.
Yeah.
Like the fighting in Dragon Ball has never actually changed. It's still the same thing. It's still, I'm gonna punch you, you gonna punch me.
Here's an energy beam.
Beam. Like it never changes. It's just
other characters being like, can you sense it? No, he's strong.
Yeah, like they have to just talk about how strong it is, and the colors of things have to change, because that's the only way. Yeah. There's no like new things happening. Hopefully that'll change at some point. I don't know what they're gonna do to like spice that up, but hopefully at some point that changes, because I understand where they're at. It just sucks because they're literally at the point where like, well, Goku and Vegeta are the most powerful people in the entire universe, and the only way that you know that is because they say it, because the fighting is all the same.
Yeah.
That's never changed. Speaking of Vegeta, I enjoyed that Vegeta like got a chance to shine.
Yeah, me too.
Because it feels like he doesn't often get that. Mm-hmm. I guess it kind of gotten stolen by Goku at the end there, when they're like, oh, we gotta rewind time so Goku can solve this. But for a minute, it kind of felt like, at least he was getting a chance to do something. The other thing is that, and I don't know how you felt about this, but even though this was condensed, compared to the first saga, it actually felt, in some ways to me, too fast.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Mm-mm.
My issue is that it feels like this is a problem with this saga more so than the last saga. It feels like there's not a progression in terms of like why they're able to do this, that, or the other. Like whenever they went for their training with Whis and Beerus. And again, this is probably a movie thing, right? Because like they have to do all of this in the span of a movie, and it has to be really quick. But it feels like in Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball also that there's a sense of like, oh, they really had to work hard to achieve this thing. Time passing, right? And that isn't happening. And I think it's because it's so fast paced because they're trying to do a movie. It'll probably be something that feels better in the coming sagas. But as it stands right now, it doesn't feel like you get a sense of how long it took to do a thing, basically. There's a time jump of 4 months, and, okay, we assume Goku and Vegeta trained for 4 months, but, like, you got very small glimpses of that.
Yeah.
And, it was very different because I think back to Z, and, like, we got to see Piccolo train Gohan for episodes and episodes and episodes, and when you do that, it gives you a sense of, like, what that character had to go through in order to achieve their next level, as opposed to where Super has been so far, where it's just like, well, these guys held hands on a boat, so now Goku's as strong as a god, and you're just like, okay. And then in the Frieza one, it's like, well, they went into some different hyperbolic time chamber, and we got to see it for like a scene or two, and now their hair's blue and they're as strong as anybody. And I'm like, okay.
And they also like played housekeeper for a while.
Yeah.
And lifted the things.
I am still really enjoying the comedy of Super.
Yeah.
There's more comedy in Super than Z.
The interactions between Vegeta and Goku are the best.
Yeah.
Like, there was the scene where they were like, oh, we're sharing a dorm bedroom, and Vegeta kicks his bed away from Goku so he's not as close. And then the very scene at the end where they're like, well, you want to train together some more? And he's like, no. And he's like, I thought so too. Ha ha ha. And they laugh.
Yeah. I don't know. Super so far has been really enjoyable.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. The Frieza saga had a lot of ups for me because we got to see the other characters interact and fight, and it didn't feel like they were so useless. I mean, at the end, they are useless, but like they don't feel so useless whenever they're actually getting used. So we'll see.
They're taking out like the Frieza army for a while.
Yeah, and it gave them something to do on screen.
Yes, because like the way I said something when we finished the last episode was like, Dragon Ball's like, here's a character. It's like, well, Goku has to reach that. Okay, now there's a character. Goku has to reach that, and then you end up with like all these different characters in this hierarchy of strength. Yeah, and they just keep getting made more and more irrelevant. Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of the problem with a show like this, is that, there's so many times that, I mean, even in Z, it was like, oh no, they'll blow up the planet. And then we get to Beerus, and he's like, I blow up planets. And it's like, okay, but can you do anything else? Like we've seen the planets blow up, so I don't know. I'm still excited about the show. I'm still enjoying the show, but I'm really curious now that we're done with the movie stuff, if they have time to flesh out things. Will, the inevitable next power level, will it feel more impactful because we actually got a chance to see the struggles to attain that, as opposed to, well, we went into Whis' magic staff and now we're strong and we will hurt you. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Anyway. And Jocko?
Yo, God, we didn't even talk about Jocko. Yeah. Who just
shows up and Bulma's like, I know you. And we're like, how?
We're like, we don't. Why, and Mao actually had to look it up, and apparently Jocko was a manga that Toriyama worked on after Z. Yeah. But before Super.
But it's set before Dragon Ball.
So it's like a pre-Dragon Ball thing. So I'm sure Jocko appearing was like a big cool thing if you read the manga. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, it's just real confusing because he shows up and you're like, who is this? And like, he's enjoyable, he's fine, so you get to know him pretty quick, but like, it's just weird when Bulma's like, oh, Jocko, I know Jocko. And I'm like, really? Would you care to share? And I was also looking it up, and in the manga, he like travels around with like Bulma's sister, and I'm like, Bulma has a sister? So I don't know if she's gonna show up in Super, she might. I don't know. Anyway. So the next arc, I think, it's longer than the last one, but it's also not a super long one. So we'll probably be back in, maybe 2 weeks, maybe less than 2 weeks to talk about the next thing. And, I'm still enjoying it. Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. If you want to talk about Dragon Ball Super, feel free. You can talk about up to episode 27. So the Battle of the Gods saga, as well as Golden Frieza saga. And of course, if you want to discuss Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, you can do that in the comments too. Otherwise, we'll be back soon after we've watched the next one, which is the Universe 6 saga. Sure. Looking forward to it. Again, and isn't it obvious though? Because now that Goku and Vegeta are the top of Universe 7, what is there left to do? You gotta go into another universe.
Yep.
You've achieved it all. Yeah, okay. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time for more Stephen and Mal review Dragon Ball Super.